Hey,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We'll give people a few more minutes to kind of jump on here.
Okay, awesome.
How's the day going?
Good. Kind of boring. Not a lot to do, but good.
Um, are you doing online school?
Yeah, sort of. It's kind of informal though, so
I got you.
yeah.
Um, cool. And sound and all that stuff, so you can hear me good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, let's get started with one, how's family? Everyone's safe and healthy, and
Yeah. We're doing pretty good. I would say, yeah.
that's good. And can you give the audience a little bit of background, name, and then where you're at school wise?
Yeah. So my name is Macey. I've been on the student panel since 8th grade and I'm currently a sophomore in high school. I go to Cleveland High School. I was diagnosed in the 4th grade. Yeah.
How did they find out to diagnose you? Can you start with the...
Yeah. So in the 1st grade, my teacher came up to my parents and told us that I wasn't learning quite right and I was a little bit slower than the other kids. And we knew that already. It was pretty clear. So all through until 4th grade, it was pretty much my parents told me that I had a glitch. That's what they said. And so I went through life thinking, yeah, there's something going on. And then in 4th grade, they finally had me tested
Oh, wow.
because we were trying to get the school to test me, and eventually we were just like, no, we're getting privately tested, and that's when we found out I was dyslexic. So yeah.
What were you feeling when they told you you had a glitch? Like, what, can you describe that emotion at all?
Yeah, definitely. It was good because when other kids, I would get laughed at or something like that, and I would be like, no, I have a glitch. So like they didn't know what to call it, but they knew that I had a learning disability and they knew I wouldn't understand if they said
Uh,
dyslexia. And so I actually found it to be kind of helpful.
so it was kind of your tool in order to kind of explain yourself or who you it allowed you to kind of express yourself. But
Yeah, it allowed me like to have a reason for my challenges.
okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you have modifications at that point? Like were you seeing did you have
Yeah.
tutoring or what was life like at that point?
Before I got my IEP in the 4th grade, I was being pulled out of class like
Oh,
once or twice a day, which you would think would be helpful, but I found it to be less helpful because the teacher didn't really know what she was doing. And I was just losing more class time, which was even more of a challenge.
was that a hit at all on the self-esteem? Because we talk about that a lot of like those
Yeah,
environments when you're kind of called out or the spotlight's put on you.
definitely.
It Um, so for those of the people on the line, if you have questions, please jump in. We are going through Macey's diagnosis from dyslexia. She was diagnosed when she was in the 4th grade. We're here
Mhm.
with International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch, and she is a member of the student panel. Can you talk to us about what the student panel does and like some of the activities that go on there?
Yeah, definitely. So our student panel, we go around to places in all over Oregon and a little bit in Washington, I think Vancouver. And we basically, the student panel tells our story. And we also do simulations to like simulate dyslexia for parents and teachers. And we talk about the technologies we use and we teach others how to use those technologies as well.
So have you found technologies to be helpful in the classroom?
Definitely. I love audiobooks because
Okay.
reading is not my thing, was never my thing. It's always been very challenging, but audiobooks has made reading much more pleasant. Um, Not necessarily fun, but it's doable.
Okay. I was going to ask, do you read for enjoyment with using audiobooks or are you just
No,
strictly to the
no,
text?
it's if I have to read, I can do it though.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Uh, are there subjects that you like or gravitate towards in school?
Um, I would say out of my classes, probably I don't know. Sometimes it varies based off of the teacher, I would say.
That makes sense.
But I would say English most of the time. It's probably like math is more challenging. History has never been very interesting to me, and I feel like it involves just as much writing as English. But
Fair.
for English, I at least got to be creative.
So it gives you a little bit more room to explore what you might want to write about and that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So let me ask you this, going back. So I know you use audiobooks. Is there any other types of technology that you use in the classroom?
Yeah. I use this thing called Easy Spelling Aid, which is a popular app. It'll give you the right, like, they or their, if you're saying that, and it'll also give you the correct spelling.
Well,
And
that's
you
great.
speak into it, and it's very helpful for little kids that have, like, lower voice or higher voices, I guess. So
Fair.
yeah.
So in using technology, have you found that to be hard in the classroom? Because it's pretty obvious when you're using technology in the classroom that people are going to be looking at you. Have you found that to be an issue, or are you good with it?
People certainly notice. Most people don't actually ask questions, which I kind of wish they would, because I can just feel like they're noticing it, but they're curious, but they're not asking questions.
Yeah.
So like originally in elementary school and for the first bit of middle school, I was uncomfortable using my technologies, but eventually it's like, it just helps so much. Why fight it?
Yeah. When was that turning point? Because I think a lot of students have this issue of like, it finally gets to a point where they see either success or they see something change where they start using it and not caring so much about what people think. Was there a turning point for you on that?
Definitely. I would say it was within a few months of 6th grade that I realized there is a lot of reading and I have to use audiobooks in class, like with earbuds and spelling apps. Like I couldn't do it without that. So.
And then how about getting those accommodations? Has that been a challenge for you, or is that?
I know a lot of people have struggled a lot with getting accommodations, but for me, I've been through public school all the way. And I found that most of my teachers, if not all of them, have been very good about giving me the technologies that I need. Getting my IEP was a totally different thing, and it's next to impossible. But
So that getting the letter for accommodations was a challenge.
But once I had that, they were very, very good about giving me accommodations.
So, okay, that makes sense, because you see people struggle on different elements across the board when dealing with dyslexia, whether it be trying to get the IEP or getting the IEP and not being able to get the accommodations. So it's just interesting to hear the various stories, because I think everyone's kind of has their own to tell from that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the advocacy piece. Because you're sophomore in high school. At what point did you were like, advocacy is going to be a pathway for me, or how did that evolve?
I would say in elementary school, my parents probably did the bulk of advocating.
Okay.
But once you were, you're in middle school, it's like you need to advocate for yourself during the day, and parents aren't always there. And so I think that's probably when I learned that I was like, okay, I have to stand up for myself. I have to say I need this. And I have to ask teachers, can I use my accommodations and stuff like that? And that's probably by 7th grade, I became much more comfortable with that.
That's really cool. Can you tell us about the You Are Not Alone campaign that is going on right now with the student panel? Can you shed some light onto that?
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, for dyslexics, at least for me, and I think for a lot of other people on the panel, if you feel very alone, I guess. And you don't feel like there are other people out there who feel the same way you do, but there's a lot of people, and that's why we do all this stuff, to show little kids that we're in the same positions as us, that you're not alone and things do get easier.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's really cool to see how many people on the student panel have gone through their struggles themselves,
Mm-hmm.
And then they start advocating for themselves. And then they want to advocate for others to make it easier for them. And I feel like that is a continual theme amongst you and your peers on this panel, which is just really awesome work that you're all doing.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, we're talking to Macey, talking about her experience being diagnosed with dyslexia, going through school, using assisted technology. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask. We're here to help. What would you like teachers or educators to know about being dyslexic? And because the constant question that we get is, oh, what can we do? Or how can we make things better? What would you like people to know?
I think for me, at least, is like if I go up to you once and I say, can I use my technology, like my audiobooks? It would be nice if you would say, yes, you never have to ask me about that. I know now. And they just, they're okay. When you take out your phone, they know. Because that would make it so much easier on me, because I don't have to go up every time I need to use my phone for something.
Yeah.
And besides that, I would say just having a basic understanding of what dyslexia is, just so that when a student is struggling, you know why they're struggling.
And on that same line, if you're a student in our audience who's maybe before the point of advocating for themselves or still dealing with some of the challenges of using assisted technology, what advice would you have for them as they are kind of getting started in their journey?
Yeah, I would say, it gets easier to advocate for yourself. And like for me, I was really shy with advocating for myself. I was, kind of like the teacher's pet. I don't want to upset anyone, but it gets easier to advocate for yourself once you do it a lot and you figure out that it is really helpful and it's worth it.
So those are powerful words. It's like, what you're saying is so true in so many endeavors beyond the classroom that I think it will apply to your life going forward. Have you thought about what you might want to do? Have you thought about your next steps after high school? Like, have you gone through that path at all, or are you still kind of, it's early, so just kind of.
Yeah, it's still early for me. But I've always, ever since I was little, I've always wanted to be a doctor. And in 6th grade, we had this project where you had to come up with a disease, and I was absorbed in it, and I loved all of these interesting diseases and everything about it. And so I would love to do something like that, like working for the Center for Disease Control, which is kind of relevant now.
Yeah.
Very relevant.
Yeah, we could use you right now.
Yeah.
So 2 things. There was a comment on the line that said you're awesome. And then Danielle wants to know, when it's your choice to do something for fun, what would you like to do? Like, what do you do for fun?
I don't know. I love going places outdoors. I would love to go for a hike to somewhere where I can go swimming with friends, something like that.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And Shelbe would like to know, how do you deal with the myths about dyslexia, and what do you say to people to educate them?
Dealing with the myths is with the truth, honestly. It's that is something that is out there. However, as a dyslexic, my experience is not that. Other people have different experiences, but that is not my experience. And then sharing your experience, I guess, is helpful.
Yeah, well said. And you got another comment on the line that said medicine is very relevant right now. So people want you to pursue this path, I think, more quickly.
Okay, yeah.
So along those lines of dealing with myths, have you been in situations where it's been challenging to have that conversation with people? Or what advice would you give to people when they are kind of confronted? Because you had that thing that, oh, I have a glitch. So you kind of nipped it in the bud right away. What advice would you give to somebody in order to get to that space?
I don't know. I guess I've had teachers, when I tell them I need to miss school for the panel, they're always like, oh, you're on a dyslexic panel. And a lot of times teachers have questions. And a lot of times those questions are like, well, do you see things backwards? And it's like, no, I don't actually see things backwards. That would be a myth. And so I guess it's just like having the time and not getting angry, because it's really not their fault that they're, that they know these things, but then just giving them the truth.
Wow. I commend you, because takes a lot of patience and poise to be able to handle those types of questions, especially when it is in a school situation and emotions can get high. So that's
certainly
great mental fortitude. Okay, so we talked about your advocacy. We talked about what you like to do for fun. Anything else that you would like people to know about dyslexia, or if you had the last words to give to this group out here?
Yeah. I think just kind of going over it all is you're not alone. A lot of people struggle with this. Find your people, find what you're good at outside of school, or even if it's inside school. Feel good about yourself in something, and get confidence even if it's not in school.
Oh, very cool. Danielle actually jumped in here with a question. Do your friends know you have dyslexia?
Yes, definitely. That's kind of my, opening statement when I meet someone new, is like, what's up? And they're going to find out eventually, especially if I go to school with them. And a lot of times I feel that when I'm comfortable sharing about my disability, a lot of other people feel more confident in sharing their disabilities and other things like that. And I think it builds a stronger friendship, that they feel that you're open with them. And I think it's important to share. Yeah. And to feel confident in your dyslexia.
So important, being confident who you are, and just being upfront with it and building the relationships from the ground up.
Yeah.
Wise words from someone your age. Very cool what you're doing. The work you're doing with the student panel. Keep pursuing your dream. Everyone wants you to become a doctor on this line. So
thank you.
You have a ton of people rooting for you. And thank you for taking the time on your Monday night to join us and share. Again, we're with the International Dyslexia Association. Oh, wait, hang on. Do you like to say I'm dyslexic, or do you like to use a different term from Shelbe?
I always say I'm dyslexic, because I think that's the term that most people know. If I say I have a glitch, most people are like, I don't know what that is. So I say I'm dyslexic, and then, I can explain to them what dyslexia is for me, and that it's not the same for everyone.
Great answer. Great question on the line. Thanks all for the questions and joining us. Again, we're with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch, and we're with Macey, who's on the student panel, and she took time out of her Monday night to join us. So we thank you, and good luck in all your endeavors.
Yeah, thank you, Jared.
Take care.
Bye.